Greetings, fellow Bible readers. Welcome to week 4 of our read through of the Bible. We're in the second half of the book of Exodus this week, and the theme is laws, laws, and laws. We get the giving of the moral law, the 10 Commandments, the laws that are in force for all people of all times. We get the giving of some of the civil laws that govern the day-to-day interactions of that nation of Israel. And we also start to see some of the ceremonial laws, the laws that would govern the worship life of the nation of Israel. In addition to all that, we get a special revelation of God. In fact, probably one of the most significant revelations of God in the Old Testament. So let's dive in and talk about what happens on each day. On day 1, Exodus 17 through 20, we get some examples of God's providence, his ability to provide for the physical needs of his people, and we see it in some very miraculous ways. We also see the giving of the 10 Commandments, and you'll want to pay special attention to the commands God gave to the Israelites for how they were to prepare for those 10 Commandments, to just drive home to them. This is something that's very important. Day 2, starting at Exodus chapter 21, we get some of the civil laws that govern the day-to-day interactions of those Israelites. And a helpful thought to keep in the back of your mind is something Jesus said to the Jewish people when he was on this earth. And they asked him about divorce and the reason Moses gave some of the laws about divorce that he did. And Jesus pointed out it was because of the hardness of the Israelites' hearts. It was because some of them were unbelievers. And so they were going to sin. They were going to break God's moral law regardless of what God's will was. And so there needed to be some laws in place to deal with those sins in an orderly fashion. On day 3, we get the start of the design and building of the tabernacle. And starting on day 3, you can do a little bit more skimming over stuff. An important thing to do, though, before you start skimming on day 3 and before you even start doing the reading for day 3 is maybe go on the internet and look up a picture of the tabernacle. Find one that's a little bit more detailed, because I think it will help you to visualize things and understand what's going on in the descriptions and what's being talked about if you have an image in your mind of those different items that are described. Then on day 4, we get the consecration of Aaron and his sons to serve as priests. And as you skim through that section, there's one word you'll want to pay special attention to, and that is the word blood. You'll want to pay special attention to the word blood because it not only plays an important role in the consecration of those priests, but it's going to set up some stuff for the book of Leviticus and the way that people approach God and come near to him, and ultimately set up stuff for the New Testament and how we can approach God through Jesus Christ. On day 5, you'll get a little bit more of the design and the building of the tabernacle. And as you skim over that section, one thing you'll want to pay attention to is the names are given for the craftsmen who are going to make the different items. A good reminder to us that even gifts of manual labor and using your hands, that those are skills and gifts that come from the Lord and that they can be used for service to his kingdom. And when they are, that's significant, and God calls special attention to that. Also, we get the start of the whole incident with the golden calf. And as you look at Moses and the way he deals with that, the way he pleads to God for the Israelites, note the way that he does that. He pleads to God on the basis of what God has said and who God is, not on anything on his part or the Israelites' part. Then on day 6, you'll want to pay special attention and take some time to really read very closely chapter 34, where God reveals himself to Moses on Mount Sinai and shows him his backside and proclaims his name. And pay special attention to that name of God. You'll notice it's not just one title, it is an extended description of who God is and what he is like. And really the description that's given here is a wonderful description of God from the Old Testament, and really it has very few, if any, equals in all of the Bible. For the rest of the reading on day 6, you can kind of do a little bit more skimming. Just a thing to note maybe from as you're skimming through there so you don't miss it is the comment that Moses has to make, that he actually commands the Israelites to stop bringing gifts for the tabernacle because they've got so much stuff. What an amazing thing to be in that kind of a position. And then on day 7, as you skim over a lot of the objects that you've heard about before in the use in the worship in the tabernacle, what you'll want to watch for this time around is pay attention to mentions of gold and silver and the amounts of each of those that are used in making all of those furnishings, because that gets mentioned here. And the value of those items really starts to give an idea of the value of the work that was going on there, work that pictured the sacrifice Jesus would make. And so we start to get an idea of just how awesome and valuable and precious it is that Jesus would come to be our Savior. So that's all for this week. We'll see you next week.